So we had this spigot that broke over the winter. We left it hooked up to the float and it froze and busted, and we haven't had time to fix it. So tonight we're going to attempt to just take the top off and leave the rest of the components in the ground and see if we can do that. The only downside, we have to turn the water off to the whole property. Okay, ours was cracked just about right back here, and I don't know if some of you know this or not, but this is called a frost-free hydrant. So as you pick up on this, you see the plunger raising here, but that's a rod that goes clear down to the bottom. So that is about 32 inches in the ground, sometimes 3 feet. And that's why when you see it, that spigot is typically about knee high, but the rest of that is buried down into the ground. And so there's a weep hole down at the bottom, and that's usually either buried in gravel, or sometimes somebody hooks it up to a pipe and they drain that away from the spigot. And so the shutoff being clear down there eliminates the fact that things can freeze. Well, if you're dumb like I was and I left it hooked up with it open like this, all the water in this pipe, all the way up and around and then into the hose, allowed it to freeze and bust right here. My attempt is to just take this top off and replace just the top, so I don't have to dig clear down into the ground and get that far down, unhook it, and reassemble it there. My goal, once again, is to take this top off and just replace the blue and possibly the handle just to keep it to match. So let's see if I can get this tore apart for you. Alright, so what we're going to do is disassemble the head of this, so hopefully once again we can take just the blue parts off and replace them on the one back in the barn. This is a little set screw that determines how much the pipe goes up and down, or the shutoff inside the pipe goes up and down. It takes a 5/16 wrench here, 2 7/16 wrenches here. So I'm going to take this loose. I'm going to take the 2 7/16 wrenches, pop that loose, and since this one's all new, it comes apart pretty easily. I'm going to pull one bolt out. You have to be careful at that point because everything kind of falls apart in your hand here, and everything is ready to come apart. So we'll set that all aside. Now I have to go and take this out. Some people don't necessarily need that to come out, but there's 2 O-rings in there, and I'd rather protect them. So I'm going to take a 3/4 inch wrench and pop that loose. And on the new one here, it pretty well spins out pretty easily. The next thing we're going to do is take 2 pipe wrenches, okay, 2 big large pipe wrenches, and I'm going to spin the blue loose from the pipe here, the cast, away from the galvanized. And the pipe wrenches that I'm using are huge because it's important that they don't slip, especially out in the barn, because if this spins in the ground, then I have a big issue. I have to get a shovel out in a couple hours of digging. So as I pull this off, this is the part that I want to assemble onto the other. I'm going to add some pipe thread compound, but these right here should be the tools I need to complete the task. So my assistant slash film crew here wanted to know what this plunger looked like, and I said earlier that it goes from here clear down into the bottom, down into the ground or down into the pit. So I'm going to pull that out, and it's just a long cylindrical pipe with a rubber plunger on the end of it, and that rubber plunger is what stops and starts. So when the water is shut off, it will drain this pipe completely down into the pit, and that's why they're called a frost-free hydrant, because there's no water that actually exceeds the ground level or the frost level. First thing we need to make sure of, so we don't make a mistake and pull the top off here and the water comes spraying out at us, because it's only about 40 degrees out, so it could be a little chilly, is make sure there's no water coming. And so right now we need to make sure that we just run this until the pressure is completely out of the line. So we're about ready to disassemble this. We have the nut loose on the back side, the set screw. We're taking this bolt out. disassembling the handle at this point. Like I said earlier, the older one here has a little bit more corrosion and wear and tear and dirt and stuff, and so it's going to take a little bit more to get it probably pried loose here. Braxton's set up here with a large pipe wrench, and again, we definitely do not want this in the ground to spin. If it does, we have a huge problem that's going to require either a lot of shovel work or a backhoe. And since I only have one well on the property, that's also the one that we use for the house. So he's going to pull against me and I'm going to pull away. Okay, we're coming now. Once again, if his slips and turns in the ground, we're in big doo-doo. But we did get it to come loose here, and the hope is that we can continue. So now it's finally coming loose. Okay. All right. There's that. And we'll get ready to put the other one back on. Alright, so we've cleaned up the shaft a little bit, added some pipe dope or pipe thread compound as some people call it, and we're about ready to reassemble the new top. You definitely want to make sure we don't cross thread. It seems like it's going on pretty easily and smooth here. I'm going to go about another half turn here. Braxton now knows he's spun his pipe wrench around the other way. We don't want to over tighten, but we also don't want it to be under tightened. There. Okay, so now we just assemble everything that we need, including the O-rings first, then the nut, and the handle all goes back in. Alright, so we're assembling back down to the nut here. Remember, do not over tighten. There's O-rings underneath there. Anytime there's an O-ring involved, you don't need to over tighten anything. Alright, so now we have part of the handle with the set screw. This is kind of the part where it's like a rector set. You need to make sure that you put everything together all at the same time. And there should be a bolt slides through with a nut on it. Now, the plunger should have been down from the last time. So at this point, in order to tighten up this plunger, I'm going to rise it just a tick above where we were to make sure that we seat the plunger all the way. Tighten up the set screw, and you should feel it lock in. So there's when it's open, and it should lock in. Any adjustment we need to make after this, we can make even when the water is turned back on. So we're going to go turn the water back on and see if we got a leakless, frost-free hydrant. Alright, so we got the top assembled. We've tested it a little bit. Just to let you guys reference the way I turned the water off here, I didn't crawl down in the well pump and shut it off. I actually just turned off the breaker box. Since we have a well, all I had to do was turn the electric off to the well pump and we would kill the water. So what we're going to check for here is make sure that we have the same pressure we would have had before. We let all the air and stuff bounce out of the lines, what's called pipe or water hammer, out of the lines, and now it's working good. And now we're back to shut off and we're good to go. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Another home maintenance video by Mr. Stegbauer for his class. And remember, somebody did it before you, so there's no reason you can't do it as well.